Mark Lowry is the founder, president, CEO, chief cook, bottle washer, accountant, and other things for what is affectionately known as the NGPDF, which is the National Golf Player Development Foundation. So let me tell you about this young man. First of all, I need to say he's from the south side of Chicago, so I have my hand out to keep him away. No, it's okay. It's okay. And Michael Cooper from south side of Chicago, too. I'm from the west side, so get that. Nonetheless, I work with these brothers, and what they have done, what Mark has done, is taken all this rhetoric, all this talk, all these phraseologies that people say we should do this, and we should support junior golf, and, you know, we need to start this and start that, and finance this and finance that, but very few people do it. Mark started it, and he's going to tell the story, but he's one of the few that has stepped forward, put his money where his mouth is, created an organization to help fund black and brown junior golf. I give you Mr. Mark Lowry.
Jim, you're too nice. Thank you. So, unfortunately, I had a slip and a fall before the holidays, so my knee is kind of telling me, you know, you're getting a little older, so I'm going to have a seat, because I want to have a little chat with everybody in here. So, if you're able, come on up a little closer, because I want your input on this. I don't bite. I'm from the south side. Jim bites. The west side is biting. So there's a lot of talent in this room around player development. I just see some of the young APGA members that just came in, so they got fresh ideas on player development. And so I'll just briefly say the reason I started this foundation was because I used to, well, I still have a lot of friends that are coaches and a lot of friends that are coaches at HBCUs. And I used to look at the team pictures and I wasn't seeing a whole lot of us. And I just asked the question, why don't you recruit more African Americans to play on your teams? The simple answer, and you heard Coach Smoot say it a little bit this morning, was, well, we've got to find players who can play at a level that are competitive so that we can keep our jobs. I said, that's the only problem? We can fix that. We can work on that. Because there's a lot of programs that are introducing kids to the game of golf, but where we have a void is how do we develop players? So I started looking at scores from tournaments, and I'd notice, I won't mention any names, but I'd notice a young lady or a young man would shoot 79 at a tournament, and I'd see their name at the next tournament, and they shoot 79. See their name at another tournament, 81. So I started to think to myself, they're not improving. So why are they not improving? Well, there are a lot of reasons for that. But when I started to talk to some of them, I'd say, well, why did you shoot 79? Well, you know, Mr. Lowry, I missed 4 putts inside 10 feet. I said, okay, did you go home and work on it? No, I had to go home and pack because I had to go to the next tournament. I said, you shot 79 again, right? I said, yeah. Why'd you shoot 79 again? I missed 5 or 6 putts inside 10 feet. Well, are you going to go home and work on it? No, I got to get ready for this other tournament. We're flying out next week. So it dawned on me that we needed to create a structure for young people to get better in between tournaments. That's a simple reason for the National Golf Player Development Foundation. You'll never see us tied to having a tournament for players. We don't have coaches that we send out to work with players, but what we do is we create relationships with organizations that do it, and they do it much better than Mark Lowry could ever do it. I've been in this business for over 30 years. Started with Chicago Public Schools, West and South Side. We even include the North Side. And our goal was to build our high school golf programs. And the way we did it was to start creating better 4th through 8th grade players so that they would move on. So a lot of what we're talking about today and a lot of what we're going to talk about, what you've heard, it's not going to happen next year. And it's not going to happen in 2 years. There are some players who are developing that are really on the cusp of being really good golfers. But the problem that the colleges are having is that the pool is too small. So whenever you have a small pool, there are going to be people that drop out of that pool. And if the pool is so small that you can't replace those people, then there's a problem. So then I started looking at other numbers, and believe me, I'm not one that deals much with analytics, but I started looking at the NCAA numbers for African American, male and female, that were playing collegiate golf. That universe is about 14,000 players that play at Division I, II, III, and HBCU. And when you go, the great thing about the NCAA is they're very transparent. Anybody can go on their website and look at the demographics. So if you don't believe what I'm saying here, go check me out. The number of African American men that are playing in NCAA is 2%. The number of African American females playing NCAA is 2%. The number of African American females playing at HBCUs is 44%. The number of African American males playing at HBCUs is 45%. So, as opposed to, as Jim said, as opposed to complaining, I said, how can we move these numbers? Those numbers have not moved in years. I tracked the NCAA, you can pull their numbers up for 12 years back. It's been 2%. So what did that tell me? All we were doing was replacing the players that were graduating with new players. We weren't growing the numbers, so we have to grow the numbers. We have to create a bigger pool. Now, NGPDF was not created to become another mass program, so we've got 18 young people that we work with right now. But I can tell you that there are programs like Preston Pinckney, like Jenny Bethune, and countless others that I have not mentioned. Legene Gould, they're developing players. What we have to do is we have to develop better players. So that's where this conversation starts today. So I'm going to ask this group a question, and I'd like to get your input, I'm sorry. And there's no wrong answers. One of the things I also said with NGPDF is this is a big problem. So if you come to me and say, I have the solution, I don't think you do. Because solution without an S on the end of it is not going to solve this. There are solutions all over the place. If you look at tour players, how many of them have the same swing? Especially if you look at the older tour players. Jim Dent swung a club one way. Calvin Peete swung a club another way. Renee Powell swung a club another way. The one thing they all had in common was they knew how to get the ball in the hole. That's the game. Get the ball in the hole. As Jim Black said, it's just a game. It ain't life, it's just a game. Those words on that video stuck with me. And I figured if Jim Black could say it that way, Jim Black knew how to get the ball in the hole. All those pros that preceded Tiger knew how to get the ball in the hole. Tiger knew how to get the ball in the hole especially well. But that's the game. Now it's gotten more technical, which is fine. But at the end of the day, if you can't get the ball in the hole, you can't play the game on a competitive level. So my question to the group, and I'd like to get your input, is how do we have a targeted impact on future development of players that have promise, desire, skill, and talent? You've got to have those 4 qualities. Everybody here plays golf, right? Yes. Nobody in here plays golf? To learn how to play this game at any level, whether you're a 100 shooter or a 60 shooter, you got to have some desire.
I have the desire.
but you want to play, right? If you don't have that desire, you'll go and play tennis, like I heard you say, right? So all of us that have played this game, we have a desire. There are some of us in here who have more promise than others. How many people in this room have broken 80? Okay? You're one of the top 2% in this game. Most people will not break 80. I guarantee you, most people may not play professionally. There are a lot of people who impact young people in this room, whether you're a professional or whether you're working with kids. All of those kids can go to college somewhere, if you're realistic. I had a young man come to me one day and said, Mr. Lowry, I want to go to Arizona State. I said, well, what's your scoring average? 79. Let's see, where else can we go? Realistically, because he was 16 years old. And the likelihood of him getting to the standards that Arizona State we're going to seek may not happen. There are a lot of other colleges that they can qualify for right away. Same thing with young ladies. Most schools will tell you if a young lady can shoot 85, she can probably go to school on a scholarship somewhere. Maybe not Duke or Stanford, but they can go to college somewhere. And then I heard yesterday, the young man said, we got to get into that other room. We got to make an impact in that other room. Well, guess what? Those young people that can use golf in college, use golf to get to college, can get over in that other room. All of those businesses and things over there are generated by golf. So if we can get our kids competitive enough that they can get to college. Now, there are going to be some, and some are sitting in this room, that are going to have pro aspirations and have the skill set to play professionally. And there's a whole other thing, we need to address to make sure that happens that supports them. But for these young people, we need to support them. We need to support them with coaches. We need to make sure our coaches are better. Okay, it starts with who's baking the bread. If you make a bad batter, your cake is going to come out bad. Am I correct? Nothing magic about that. If you have a Mercedes and you take it to Joe Blow Oil Company, chances are they're going to ruin the Mercedes. Okay? So we have to make sure that the people who are teaching our kids, believe me, I know so many that are dedicated, but we have to make sure they are imparting the right talents on those young people as well. So as you think about that question, I'd ask you to think about basically 3 areas of support. It's really important that you do performance evaluations. Give them some measurements. How many 3-footers can you make in a row? If you take 10, how many can you make? If you take 10 from 5 feet, how many can you make? If you make 10 from 10 feet, take 10 from 10 feet, how many can you make? And then how can you improve that number? And if the proficiency is they're good close, but they're not good at 10, then that's where you need to work. Okay? I came up through basketball, and my coach would always tell me, if you can't make free throws, you got to work on your free throws. Don't shoot 25-foot jumpers, and you can't make a 12-foot free throw. So go work on that. Second thing is, so evaluate them and hold them to standards. Let them set standards for themselves. This is about making the game fun still. But let them make standards for themselves. So what are their goals? And if their goal is to make 5 out of 10, work with them till they can get to that 5 and then push them to 7. Second thing is progression. So what yardages are they playing from? Are they age-appropriate yardages? When do they dip their toe into stronger competition? And sometimes I hear folks say, well, they got to move back because they got to play this distance. Well, They may not be ready to play that distance yet. They need to make sure that they win from the distances that they're playing from, then take a step back, play from there, play against that kind of competition, but then get them back to where it's appropriate for them, and then evaluate that and sit down with them. One day, a few weeks ago, I played with a group on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'll just be transparent, I'll be 70 years old this year. And the gentleman that I play with, thank you. I haven't got there yet, so don't clap yet. Clap on August 15th. So they made me play with the older group that's 75 and older, and I played from the forward tees. And I shot a worse score from the front tee than I do from the tees back, and I was hitting wedges all day, wedges and 9-irons all day. So what it told me was, put the 7-iron away and go work on your wedges. But that's the kind of thing that you need to do, and then progress them as you work with them. And then comes, and we heard young Mr. Dent yesterday say, resource identification. Okay, how do we create resources for these young people to do what they need to do? And I would tell those of you who run programs, partnerships, reach out to every piece of your community to set up partnerships. One of the things that we don't do, before we reach over into that other room, we got to reach into the pockets in this room, okay? We've got to support these young people like Mr. Dent, and I see Mr. Black over there as well. We got to, and it doesn't cost a lot. You know, you think about just this room here, I just the eyeball, there's probably 30, 40 people in here. If everybody in here gave $10, that's $400. Doesn't hurt you. You know, when we started NGPDF, my goal was, I was on Black Golf Alliance, and there's 35,000 people signed up on the Black Golf Alliance. So a conservative number is if 17,000 of them gave $100 a year, that's $1.75 million. We could do a whole lot with $1.57 million. And my challenge to the group was, if you just put $10 in the pot, how many of you play skins? Rabbit, squirrel? Come on now, y'all. You know what I'm talking about. If you just put $10 in the pot every time you go out to play golf, if you play golf 10 times a year, that's $100. And donate that to any program, not just NGPDF, but if we had a way to pull all that together, that's $1.7 million, and we haven't hurt anybody's pocket. And that's just half of the 34,000. So we have the wherewithal to do that. I heard in that video about Shady Rest. When they were going to close the golf course, a gentleman got together with a partner and they pooled their money and bought that. That's what we can do. Then once we identify those resources and bring those resources, we have to figure out how to distribute them. Okay, so how do we get them to the people who need it? How do we get them to the youngsters who need it? Our research showed that our parents are paying anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 a year for these young people to play in tournaments. That includes food, beverage, transportation. That's even before we get to now entry fees. But we have to have partnerships. I got on the phone and started calling folks. I called the AJGA. I called the PGA Tour. I called local friends of mine. I called local organizations. I'm starting this program. Will you help? That has led to where we are today. So the answer is, and I won't go into specific dollar amounts, but the answer is we're here 4 years later because people are helping. Many of you in this room have helped. We can do more. We can eliminate the stories that James told yesterday. And we can help some of these young people get out. Now, we have to be realistic. We can't do this in perpetuity, but we can give them a shot. We can give them a chance. We can give these young people a chance. Last thing I'm going to say, and then I want to open it up to the floor. And I talked about development. There's basically 5 elements of success to development. There's the mental aspect. And so some of the young people we were working with got plenty of game. If you look at our website and you look at some of the names on that website, you'll see people like Ashley Shaw. You'll see Stacy Plow, I'm sorry. You'll see Ty Treadwell. You'll see Judah Johnson. These are some of the top players in the country that are under 16 that are coming up. Some of them don't need help with their swings. They missed the game right here. So we're helping to connect them with sports psychologists, mental coaches. Dr. Sales was here. He has been very helpful in donating his time to our program and working with these young people that ask for his help. Sometimes all you have to do is ask for help. Help will come. I've gotten real good in my faith as I've gotten older, and sometimes if you just ask for help, he'll take care of you. You may not do it when you want it, but he'll do it. He'll take care of you. Then there's coaching. Get him with good coaches. If you think about Tiger Woods, Tiger had his dad start him. He transferred him to Rudy Duran. Rudy took him as far as he could go. He transferred him to the next teacher. Then there was Butch. Then there was, everyone that's come along. What I'm saying is you can't do it all by yourself. Get help. Get somebody who can work. If the young person or persons you're working with have got the putting down, but their driver's going all over the place, get them some help with that. Make sure they get fitted. Make sure they're playing age-appropriate clubs. There's the physical aspect. Are they working on their body? Do they do sit-ups? Do they do push-ups? Do they do core work? Are they working on their lower body? Are they getting the strength development that they need? The biggest thing is number 4. Do they have the desire? You got to want to practice at this game. You got to want to play. You got to want to go out when it's cold. You got to want to go out when it's 100 degrees. In Arizona, Ashley's out there practicing, and sometimes it's like 104 degrees. She's still hitting her ball. She's hitting it further because it's 104 degrees. And then the last thing is equipment. But I'd say all of these can be counseled under relationships. So I'm going to open it up to the group, and I'm going to ask the question again. How have you, in your programs or in your experience, targeted impact on the future development of players that have promise, desire, skill, and talent? Yes, sir.
So I'd like to just say, going back to what we're trying to do at CUS, is we're trying to present golf to as many of the young kids as possible. And one of the things that I've heard over the last 2 days is that we need more black kids who are good to represent the black community in the PGA Tour, in the tournaments, in the different whatever associations they are. So what I see there is it takes a lot to get a kid to be good, and it takes a special talent for a kid to be good. Not everybody has got a good hand-eye coordination, etc. And you also talk about solution versus solutions. And what I like to say is that we are trying to help with solutions by just presenting the game to as many kids as possible. And how do we bring those kids up to a point where we can start to pinpoint who's good and who's not good? I think that's a big factor. And then the kid that is good or might be good, how do you get their family behind them? And can they afford it? There's so many variables that make it such a hard struggle and a long, big mountain to climb. But I appreciate 1,000% with what you're talking about. We have to group together, we have to network, and I think a lot of it starts with, let's get golf clubs in the kids' hands, let's get mental training. Let's get, teach the kids what the rules of the game are, what the game is all about from the bottom up. What is grass? Why do they have short grass? Why do they have long grass? But it all starts with that young kid. I mean, let's face it, Tiger Woods was 3 years old and his father put a golf club in his hand. How many Tiger Woods are there in the world? One. How many Jack Nicklaus's were there? I mean, really not many. But we as a group need to say, let's get these kids to see what the game is all about. And then we got to figure out how to get them better and improve and improve and improve upon themselves. But it's all up to each individual how they're going to try to be better. I don't know how many of us can say, you got to get better, you got to practice, you got to do this. Yes, it's training, it's teaching. But if a kid doesn't want to do it, the kid's not going to do it.
Guess what? They'll tell you if they're going to get better.
Say that again?
They'll tell you if they're going to get better. They'll tell you by their actions. You'll be able to look at, and I'm a big proponent of introducing as many kids to the game because again, some of the kids it will be fun for them. Some kids, you'll start seeing them really start to work on it. And what you have to do when you have mass groups, you have to start pulling those kids out and get them now with better coaches. Most grassroots programs survive by volunteers. They're well-intended people. They teach grip, stance, and posture. When those kids start to develop that and you start seeing a certain kid that's like hanging around, hitting more balls, really listening to what you're saying, you got to pull that kid out of the mass and start moving him or her to that special coach that now can start to take them, as I said with Tiger, start to take them to that next level. True, there's one Tiger Woods. There are hundreds of kids whose fathers and mothers are putting clubs in their hands, and they're starting to develop. And if they weren't, you wouldn't see those groups across the hall that have all these junior kid sets and U.S. kids and all of that. So we have to be smart enough as people who introduce kids to the game to say, John and Sarah are really working on their game. Let me get them out of the mass and into some special programming so they can start to develop their game.
Yeah.
So
I applaud what you're doing.
applaud what you guys are doing. Come on, Miss Tennis.
Thank you. So I just want to piggyback on what Tom just said, and please forgive me. I don't know. I'm learning more about the golf industry, but I do know a lot more about the tennis industry. So in regards to finding, you mentioned, I wrote down copious notes about your 5 elements of success, and one of it was coaching. So is there a database of coaches across the nation or globally that is recommended? Like, I heard you mention all the different coaches that Tiger Woods had, but is there, so let's say, for example, we have 20 kids at Shady Rest, and we find 5 that are awesome. Like, is there a database, a data bank, whichever, that highlights who's the or if we think back to the Serena Venus Williams story, the father identified who was the coaches that he wanted to plug his daughters with. What would you recommend that the route that we would go?
So I'm going to answer that a little globally because every community probably has a PGA professional in that community, and if you go to their website, they can tell you who those professionals are, and then it's again a building of a relationship with that professional. Every community has a golf association. They know where coaches are, and in many of your communities, you know where the coaches are. You know the folks that teach the game, and so you can connect in that way. Others, because there's other folks here that know about that. Come on, Doc. Bring that south side on up.
Terrible habit of mine, I'm sorry. I want to say that, number one, we want to be clear to you all's point at Shady Rest. We want to be clear to separate introductory and what you're talking about is player development to get to an elite level. And then we want to be clear, it's such a big void, it's such a big problem, that's that big hairy elephant, how do you eat it? And we eat it in chunks. And I think you've been clear, and you've established an age category. What is it, 14 to 18? Is that, so you got it?
Well, we're down to 9 now.
Okay, so, but you're getting more and more specific so that you can start to see some impact. If you try to tackle it all at one time, you don't have the resources, you don't have time. You're trying to make an impact on a specific target. You're trying to get them to an elite level. So it's you're chunking it, and I think that's the right approach. Miss, you say about the coaches. You're in Jersey?
Yeah, we're in Jersey. So
I would say look to Kevin Purcell runs the state program, New Jersey State Association. Look to your state associations. Look to your PGA chapters there, look to your LPGA sections. You can get referral after referral, and you can get a ton of referrals, again, for intro level. Talking about moving to elite, though, then you're really talking about a different type of level of training and teaching. You guys know a teacher you can go to and believe what they tell you versus a teacher you go to and you kind of, oh, okay, I'm working on something else. So getting to that next level is a different skill set, and I think what you're doing is that. And Mark, I just want to say, like a word of endorsement. I recall I was on that Facebook site with the 35,000 members, and you made the challenge. You threw it out there. You weren't saying this because I'm going to go start doing it. You said this is what we need. If each one gave and you had some, this is what we need. And I think that thing swirled around for about a month. For about a month. Yeah, this is what we need. This is what we need. What we're going to need. Who's going to do it? Then it got to who's going to do it. And then it got a little bit more quiet. Who's going to do it? And then some names came out. And everybody in here knows that who's asking for the money makes a big difference. I'm not giving $10, $5, $1, $100 to just anybody because they say, here's what we need. The question came, who's going to do it? And Mark Lowry's name came up. It's got to be somebody that we can trust. Mark Lowry's name came up. And so I'm saying this as a way of endorsement. If you're going to give to somebody for something this specific and this necessary, I would put Mark Lowry there for player development. I would. I invested in him myself. I gave him his first donation. It was $1.
It has grown.
But I followed up with a bit of a bigger one. But no, find somebody you trust in. You have to find somebody you're going to trust in because you want to know that they're good stewards of these dollars. Mark gets no salary. He's out there trying to help our people. And I applaud you. That's all I'm saying. I applaud you for stepping forward, saying, here's what we need. Everybody said, yeah, we need it, but who's going to do it? Then it got down to a real narrow pool. You stepped forward and said, I'll do it. You are the person to trust, in my opinion. Then I want to say one last thing. There are prototypes out there to be followed. The Koreans have an academy, Swedes have an academy. They have academies out there that specialize in player development, and we see the fruits of their labor. LPGA Tour, we see the fruits of their labor, and I'll put a plug in for the organization I work with, the USGA. Mike Wan, our CEO, came to the USGA from the LPGA, and I vividly recall him saying on Golf Channel, if we don't start a national team concept with the U.S., in 10 years we won't have an American champion in our game. And now they've started that national team concept, which you spoke with Heather yesterday. I think that is part of a solution, but for the community you're talking about, that's not a solution because we're not at that level yet. So something very similar to that, I think, needs to be something that feeds up to that level. I think they got an idea of the prototype, but we're not ready for that yet. We're not ready to break into their prototype, but maybe we can build some prototype underneath that, give resources to it, which you're a resource center, and build something very similar to that. That, I think, is not the solution, but I think it might be part of some solutions.
I appreciate those comments, Coop. And when challenged with this, and as I'm talking about relationships, the first thing that I did was there's a group of us that we've met every Monday morning for 5 years, Jim, right? Greg Kirby, Mike Cooper, myself, Legene Gould, and this gentleman over here. He gets you in a lot of trouble. Let me just say right now. Jim is one of those guys, so you gonna do it? I got your back. So you can't turn around and say to him, I can't do it, Jim. Sometimes you have to say, I can't do it anymore, I gotta do this. But Jim serves on our board of directors, so I trust him, as Coop said. Coop and Craig serve on my advisory board. I trust them. I bounce things off of them. The first group that signed on, Dr. Cooper gave us our first dollar. I've got it framed, because I said when we get to a certain level, I'm going to bring that dollar out, and I'm going to show it to the frame. I wrote on there the date and who gave it to me. That was our first dollar. That got us going. The first partnership that we created was with a group out of Richfield, Connecticut, the Junior Golf Hub, PDI. Eric Allen is here from that group. Eric, thank you guys for so much what you've done. Yeah. Go ahead.
In his own filthy mouth way, on one of our Monday mornings, he says, "Stop talking about it. Do it."
And
He exploded. "Stop talking about it, Mark. Do it."
And my wife must have heard him, because she started saying, she says, you ought to do this. I said, no, I'm happy being retired, playing golf 4 days a week. No, you need to give back. Fine. So we gave back. But I told all of them, and I told the group on Black Golf Alliance, I was not going to do this unless we formed a 501c3, which we did, unless we were approved, by the state of Arizona, which we are, and that we had federal approval, which we did. And it's interesting, Roger Nick, who heads up Junior Golf Hub, and we had filed our 501c3 papers at the same time, and we kept asking, did you get your approval yet? No. Did you get yours yet? No, I haven't got mine yet. But the point I was going to make is that through this partnership, we have access to things that we could have never paid for starting out. We have a portal. All of our kids are listed in a portal. What this portal does is it will give them feedback, what colleges they should be looking at based on their skill level at their age, and as they get better, those colleges change. If they don't get better, there's a list, and it includes Division I, II, III, and HBCUs. And the coaches on the back end can see those kids that are entered in the database. It'll also do what they call PDI, which is Performance Development Index, which measures how much they improve in their physical aspect of the game, their mental aspect of the game, and of course their skill levels in the game. So not to get too deep, but it's a evaluation model that we use. Then we created what we call the GRIP program, which is the Golf Reimbursement Incentive Program, that each kid is eligible for up to $3,200 a year that can be used to offset tournament fees, instruction, non-tournament practice, and practice time, practice balls, if they have, pay for their balls. So we're able to introduce that program. So we've built the foundation, and we've gone nationally, and we're in 7 states, District of Columbia, our heaviest concentrations in Georgia. Junior Golf Hub did a local PDI session for the kids in Georgia last year, so they didn't have to travel to Connecticut. They've opened a new academy in West Palm Beach, just outside of West Palm Beach, Port St. Lucie. So we'll have access to now start sending kids to camps. Andy Walker, good friend of mine, became the head golf coach at Eastern Michigan University. They built a multi-million-dollar practice facility indoor in Ypsilanti, Michigan, which is only 45 minutes from the Detroit airport. So now we got a place that kids can go to there. Alabama State, Quincy Hurd, they're building a practice facility. They'll partner with us. One of our players, Stacy Pla, her mom is the assistant coach. She's an LPGA, PGA professional. So these things are starting to come, like I said, it's not overnight, but they're coming together. Now we got to get the pool of kids. Now we start working on the parents. James, I'm going to come to you in 1 second. Just want to say this. We do a Zoom call every month, and it's themed. We do it on a certain theme. So we've had people, colleagues of mine who now work in the NIL space. We've had Rachel Maruno come on and talk about what are the pitfalls and the benefits of NIL. Everybody looks at the money, but think about your signature. You could sign a contract on something that maybe you're not big now, but let's say you don't ascend to the Tiger Woods level, but you ascend to a big level, and you've signed your life away when you were 14 years old. So we talked about those and the benefits of those. We've had Coach Walker, we've had Coach Perrier on to talk about pathways to college golf, to the not necessarily the HBCU or to Howard, Howard, or at the time Andy was at Virginia Commonwealth, but how do you get to college? What do those coaches look for? So you can start putting your blueprint together. We've had sports psychologists on that call. And some of them now have not donated, but significantly reduced their prices to work with the young people. So we've been able to bring that to them. So just to say, you know, these things out of a dare, really, from these three gentlemen around here, and one who was crazy enough to take up the dare, it's growing. The flowers are starting to grow now. So, James, sorry. Thank you for being patient.
Yeah, I would just basically answered everything I was coming up here to talk about, but there's just trying to piggyback on Mr. Cooper was saying how, you know, he said, you know, there's different cultural academies, the Swiss Academy, Latino American, Asian, obviously Caucasian Academy, IMG, you know, just different ethnicities have, you know, their academies and organizations. But you don't see an African American Academy that's world known, U.S. known, that is monetized in different parts of the United States, from California, Texas, Florida, 3 biggest states in the country. I think that's where, you know, you obviously got to start somewhere. Florida, Texas, California, either place, Arizona. But just piggyback on what he was saying was, so they have to start somewhere. Find the investors, you know, try to bring the pool of money together through people in the community, maybe African-American athletes that play the game, like we talked about yesterday. But I think that's, you know, I think that's where it's going to start. You know, I feel like African-American kids will feel comfortable working and progressing in the game when they see other kids doing the same thing. Not to say that they won't go to other academies, but it just makes the comfort level that much easier to see that it's possible, and these kids are trying to get better at an advanced level. So, I mean, I'm so happy to hear that you guys are trying to advance the game at this level. I never knew about this. You know, this is the first time I've ever heard of these ideas, and people like you guys are stepping up to do this. So I'm just really, really happy to hear that, because these kids will have an opportunities 5 years from now, a year from now, 10 years from now to step in somewhere where they really can be the next Tiger Woods or, you know, the next big name. So that's all I wanted to say.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Yes.
I would just love to hear their stories.
Give her the mic. Would you give her the mic?
Young men have grown up in the golf industry, right? And so,
Would you take the mic to her?
both of your stories, like,
Take the mic to her,
Okay.
because we're taping it.
I'll start with mine, and then I'll pass it to Norman. I'll keep
Okay.
it pretty brief. And me and Norman and I, we came through Rogers Park in Tampa, Florida, through the First Tee program, Urban Junior Golf. We came up with other African-American young players and kids, and Yeah, we got started at Rogers, started there, worked on our game, played all through high school. But I feel like on the experience that we had growing up, we had a lot of raw talent. There's a lot of raw talent. You know, we were kind of almost self-taught, a lot of the kids. We just found a way to kind of get the ball in the hole, shoot. And we got to a level where we could shoot 75, mid-70, high 70s, sometimes low 70s at the age of 15, 16 years old. But, you know, there was kind of a ceiling that we hit, you know. And I think looking back on what we kind of needed back then was somebody to kind of take us to a place where we could grow and learn, get uncomfortable, right? Learn new things. And looking back on it, I can say that, you know, these young kids, that's what they have to be exposed to, more knowledge, more learning, and more advanced learning, because, you know, their city golf course or their parents know a guy that used to teach golf can only get them so far, right? He can only get, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, you got to be passed on to the next guy. So I think going back to our story, like, we came up through the program, went to high school. We didn't play any college golf. I didn't play any college golf. I went to Tallahassee Community College for 1 year. At the time, I wasn't really focused on school. I was just, you know, trying to chase the pro career. I wasn't ready at the time. I was 18, 19 years old, but I knew what I wanted to do. So really didn't really have the structure, the polishing on me as far as to develop as a player, right? It's like comparing a street fighter to Floyd Mayweather, right? Street fighter may be good, but Floyd Mayweather is critique. He's fundamentally correct. Everything, his moves. So I think that a lot of these kids have raw talent. You know what I mean? Raw potential talent, because you know they're athletic. They can shoot hoops, play basketball, all this stuff. But I think somebody would have been great to come in and just polish us and critique us and give us discipline and structure to take us to that next level. And then that kind of still kind of stuck with us through our early pro careers. Even like stepping into the APGA 2019, 2020, we still had that little bit of dirt on us as far as from that. And now that this past year, 2 years, I'm starting to realize, you know, what we really need. And we need his help, structure, fundamentals.
Thank you very much.
Just to add on to what Joseph was saying, we grew up playing golf together. I mean, our dads played on the tour together, James Black, Jim Dent. We came from Rogers Park. Like you said, we had raw talent. Our dads taught us at an early age. They gave us the right fundamentals. They took us to the golf course. I mean, it was just school and golf, you know, growing up. But as we got older, it just kind of kept being the same thing, same environment. We didn't really graduate from that environment, even into like the early parts of our pro career. And like Joseph was saying, the last 3-4 years, we kind of realized, you know, looking at the other guys, not even just black golfers, just professional golfers in general, their structure. You know, they got their fitness trainer, they got their mental coach, they have their swing coach, they have the ability, and they have the ability, well, the access to certain technologies like TrackMan and FlightScope. We don't have that at Rogers Park. We didn't have that going into our pro career. We didn't know anybody to introduce us to that. So we were just kind of self-taught all the way up until our early professional career. But right now we're just trying to graduate from that and get to that arena, that environment that'll take us to the next level. Because like I said, me and you, we got a lot of raw talent. And we just need that team around us to push us, to make sure that raw talent turns into really good talent, where we just take it off, go to the PGA Tour, and
There you go.
do what we can do.
That's what we're talking about.
You know, my dad taught me to be competitive and to never quit and to never give up on your dream. You know, if there's a plan B in this, you might as well go to plan B. You know what I'm saying? It's this golf thing is plan B, A, C, D, all the way to Z. You know, I grew up playing this game. I ran track a little bit in high school, but golf was always my go-to.
Outstanding.
You know, regardless of what happens, I know I'm going to make it to the PGA Tour and make myself proud, make my dad proud. So.
Thank you very much. Very, very good. Mark, any other words, closing words you want to say?
Well, just to close, I think you've heard from these gentlemen, raw talent sets them apart. We have an opportunity to work with young people before they get to their stage to develop that raw talent. And there are various ways to develop it. You know, this event, I'll just say this, one of the things that's made me the proudest about what we're doing at NGPDF was this is the first PGA show that 4 parents of NGPDF players brought their kids, and some of them were in the workshop yesterday. I followed Ashley and her parents today to the PGA show. And believe me, if you've ever been a kid that goes to a candy shop, they have gone to the candy shop. They are hooked. We won't have a problem worrying about them being dedicated to golf. We opened their eyes this week. It was for all of them, it was their first PGA show. So as you go back home, and there are a number of folks I see in the room that run programs where you're impacting young people, just think about some of the things we said there. I'm always available. Our website is www.ngpdf.org. If you want to bounce questions off of me, if you have young people that want to sit in on some of our Zoom calls, you know, just reach out to me. And Zoom, we can open it up to anybody. There's a lot of lessons that can be learned there, and I'm more than willing to share. And thank you for all the support I've received in this room, and hopefully I've been able to share some support to people in this room from time to time, and we'll continue to do that. So, Jim. Oh, let me one more. DeBert Cook. DeBert was instrumental in getting the name of NGPDF out there. She did an article on my background. You'll probably, those of you who get the magazine religiously, will see NGPDF players in the news. DeBert has helped to put those young people out there so that coaches now get to see, wow, there's a young person that's doing something. They won a tournament or finished second in a prestigious tournament. And so I want to thank DeBert publicly for all the support you've given us. This guy right here, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for him. He's always pushing. That's how West Side people do. They push the South Side. They push us, they push us, they push us. But that, you know, I love them for doing it. And we're just grateful. Thank you so much for the time, Jim.
Thank you, Mark. He always manages to get that in there. But yes, I push him, but we push each other. Craig, Coop, if y'all stand, Mark, please stand, gentlemen, because we do meet every Monday morning. We have a Zoom call, and it's been for the past 5 years. And I will tell you from that, many initiatives that have been enacted have come from that call. So Mark was our last presentation. You about to give me some money or what?
I was about to collect some.
Okay, nonetheless, this is our last presentation. I think there's about 45, 50 minutes left to go to the show. But listen, here's what we've done. We've connected. We've shown you the power of one individual. It does not take a platoon, a battalion of people to get something going. Teddy Rhodes' daughter and granddaughter started with one, and they've gotten things going. They've provided scholarships to Fisk University as a result of what they do. You've seen what Craig has done. Craig brought up doing something with HBCUs on one of our calls. He made a call to his friend at the White House in the Biden administration. One thing led to another. That's a program that you heard Michael Cooper talk about yesterday, the power of one, the connectivity of what we're doing. You got up and gave a newcomer to golf your badge so she could get into the show. The power of one. So when you get back, start whatever it is you need to start. You know what's on your heart and in your heart. Get it started. Others will join you because we like to see leaders. When we know someone is sincere and has the passion, we will follow. I simply want to thank you. I got to say, you heard from Renee Powell. That was quite a treat and unscripted. You heard from Renee Powell, one of the top people in golf, in the entire industry and in the history of golf. She was here. I'm disappointed. I will tell you this. This room should have been packed all day long. I hope you agree with me. People should have been here all day long to hear this. But be that as it may, those that are here, I thank you so much. If you have ideas and suggestions for me, let me know. But tell me at 6:30 over at the Hyatt Regency in Ballroom B and C. I should mention that, again, that Club Corps is running a promotion. Their materials weren't there yesterday, but they are there today. If you take advantage of their promotion, you could win a gift certificate from Eastside Golf. That will be there this evening as well, too. Oh, excuse me, the promotion at Eastside Golf. I hope they come, but they've been invited, but we'll see. So thank you so much for your time and attention and dedication. You heard from Shady Rest. I mean, I'm going to stop at some point because you got to go see the show. You got to go to the other room, okay? Thank you. Appreciate you.